If you've ever held a Nikon Z6 III, you know the feeling. So close, yet not quite there. The autofocus that almost nailed it. The screen that almost tilted enough. The features that almost made it the perfect hybrid. That almost has haunted Nikon users for years. Now, with the Z6 IV, Nikon gets another shot at redemption, to finally build the camera that doesn't just compete, but leads. The question is, can Nikon finally turn almost into a rival with the Nikon Z6 IV? The Z6 III was the kind of release that felt like a quiet revolution. It introduced Nikon's first partially stacked 24-megapixel sensor, a middle ground between the speed of stacked CMOS and the cost efficiency of traditional chips. That single decision changed everything, from burst shooting to autofocus to video. Suddenly, the Z6 III could shoot at 14 frames per second mechanically, 20 frames per second electronically, and even push beyond 60 frames per second for JPEGs. In real-world use, it felt alive, responsive, fast, and confident. Video creators especially took notice. Internal 6K NRAW and 6K ProRes RAW, recording, waveform monitoring, and 10-bit capture were huge leaps for a $2,500 body. For the first time, Nikon's workhorse camera could genuinely stand shoulder to shoulder with Sony's A7 IV and Canon's R6 II. Even the ergonomics, a signature Nikon strength, remained a triumph of balance and feel. But as capable as it was, the Z6 III wasn't flawless. The new sensor, while fast, sacrificed a bit of dynamic range. Lab tests hinted at a slight dip at base ISO, and though most users never noticed, pixel peepers did. Its E-shutter flash sync speed was limited to 1/62nd of a second, far behind true stacked sensor rivals. And while autofocus improved dramatically, borrowing algorithms from the Z8 and Z9, it still missed the occasional moment, especially with fast-moving subjects. Then there were the quirks. Nikon's decision to drop the AF mode button, the single CF Express plus SD card slot combo, and some mild handling edges that made long shoots feel less comfortable. Minor annoyances, yes, but in a camera this well-rounded, they stood out. Still, the verdict was clear. The Z6 III wasn't just a solid camera, it was a statement. Nikon could compete again in the heart of the hybrid market. And now we wait for the follow-up. The Nikon Z6 IV has been the subject of endless speculation, some realistic, others wildly optimistic. The biggest rumor? A new high-resolution sensor, possibly 61 megapixels, which would double the Z6 III's resolution and take Nikon's mid-tier camera into near Z7 territory. For photographers who shoot landscapes, products, or portraits, that's exciting news. But it also raises a valid question. Would Nikon risk blurring the line between its Z6 and Z7 lines? Probably not. A more measured leap to around 30 to 33 megapixels seems more likely, offering extra detail without breaking the Z series hierarchy. Video, on the other hand, is almost guaranteed to improve. Expect 4K 60pi from full sensor readout, 4K 120p with a crop, and even more refined color profiles. Nikon's acquisition of red may not directly affect the Z6 IV, but its ripple effect is already visible. Nikon is taking video seriously now. Features like better preamps, more flexible gamma options, and enhanced stabilization could make the Z6 IV the sweet spot for creators who can't justify a Z8, but still demand cinematic quality. As for the body, Nikon is unlikely to reinvent the wheel. The Z6 III's form factor was well loved. Sturdy, balanced, weather-sealed. But minor improvements are expected. Perhaps a brighter EVF, a refined, fully articulating screen, and slightly better thermals. Some photographers still dream of a multi-tilt display like the Z8 and Z9, arguing that flippy screens cater too much to vloggers. Realistically, Nikon will try to please both camps, maybe adopting Sony's clever hybrid hinge system that allows both tilt and swivel flexibility. And yes, pricing will rise. Early reports suggest somewhere between $2,700 and $3,000, reflecting the camera's growing ambitions. But Nikon has proven one thing over the last year: people will pay if the value is there. Not long ago, Nikon was considered the underdog in the mirrorless race, a company with a glorious past but an uncertain future. But something remarkable happened. Nikon started winning again. Recent market reports from Japan show Nikon climbing to the #1 spot in full-frame mirrorless sales, overtaking Sony and Canon for the first time in over a decade. This wasn't achieved through flashy flagship releases, but through smart, well-priced, well-balanced products. Cameras like the ZF struck a chord, retro charm with modern performance. The Z8 proved Nikon could innovate with the best, and the Z6 III became the reliable choice for professionals and enthusiasts alike. But what's even more significant is how public perception has changed. The tone of online discussions, once dismissive or nostalgic, has shifted to admiration. Reviewers now call Nikon a comeback brand. Creators who jumped ship years ago are looking back with interest. Nikon's secret weapon has been consistency. They've stopped trying to chase trends and started focusing on the experience of using the camera. The feel, the balance, the color science, the tactile joy of pressing that shutter. The Z6 IV should arrive not as a desperate gamble, but as an opportunity to consolidate that comeback. If it delivers the right blend of power, resolution, and affordability, Nikon could cement its position as the most balanced, mirrorless brand in the industry. If the Z6 III taught us anything, it's that Nikon understands its hybrid audience better than ever. The Z6 IV doesn't need to reinvent the wheel, it just needs to polish the formula. Here's what photographers and videographers are really hoping for: a refined sensor, ideally between 30 and 33 megapixels, that offers a balance of speed, dynamic range, and manageable file sizes. Improved autofocus tracking, on par with Sony's real-time tracking or Canon's dual-pixel AF2, especially in fast or unpredictable lighting. Better preamps and audio control, finally giving videographers a reason to ditch external recorders. More efficient heat management, enabling long 4K and 6K recording sessions without overheating. Dual CFX Press Type B slots, though Nikon may keep the current hybrid setup to control cost. A hybrid tilting swiveling display, satisfying both vloggers and still shooters. Stronger IBIS, possibly with active stabilization modes fine-tuned for handheld video. Perhaps the most interesting wish from the community isn't about features, it's about philosophy. Some fans are asking Nikon to release a stills-only version of the Z6 IV, stripped of video tools for pure photography. But in 2025, that's a fantasy. The hybrid world is here to stay. Mirrorless technology, by design, thrives on constant live view streaming. Nikon knows that most users, whether they admit it or not, shoot both stills and motion. The future isn't either-or, it's both. To be honest, no one's expecting perfection this time, just progress that feels honest. A camera that listens to the community instead of trying to outshine everyone else. If the Nikon Z6 IV can deliver that, a tool that feels reliable, creative, and simply enjoyable to use, it might just become more than another mid-tier release. It could be the moment Nikon finally feels confident again. Because for many of us, this isn't about choosing a logo, it's about choosing a companion for the work we love. And if Nikon gets this one right, the Z6 IV might remind us all why we picked up a Nikon in the first place. Thanks for watching.